Hi guys, hello and welcome back to the second episode of About Damn Times. I'm Sukriti, your host for the evening, and I'm very excited to kick off the second episode, especially honoring Our Lady GMT issue. This is going to be an exciting story filled with luxury watches, style, and much more. So today we're diving into a very exciting conversation with two remarkable women, each of them bringing their own flair, fascinating stories to the table. From the grit of adventure and the wisdom of the fashion industry, this episode actually has a little bit for everyone. So, first up, we have Shulyin Kalia, a rescue diver and a baker who actually balances deep sea explorations with crafting the perfect pastries. This is the kind of diverse skill set we all should be looking up to, honestly. You don't find these two things together so often. And we're also joined by Shymala Nawab, whose experience in the fashion industry has shaped and defined elegance across generations. So the first one is going to be a fun one. If you could only wear one watch for the rest of your life, which watch would it be?
This one.
This one?
This is a Rolex
Yeah.
Oyster Perpetual. It's super versatile. It just goes with everything. It's minimalist design and
Yeah.
nothing too fancy, nothing too flashy. It just
defines you.
I guess so.
And how about you?
It would be my Cartier.
Oh.
Because firstly, I don't see copies of Cartier.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
so that is my first thing. And it's pretty understated. If I'm wearing just a jeans and shirt, then it's
Yeah.
fine. But if I'm dressed up, also it is fine. And there are people who recognize it, then it's fine. There are people who don't, then also it's fine. So
Yeah.
it is just there. It
Yeah.
defines me in a lot of ways where I feel I blend, my passions blend with whatever is on the table for
Yeah.
the day.
Oh,
So
lovely.
I think my Cartier, definitely. And it's got a rose mother of pearl dial. So the mother of pearl and it being the sea and I'm kind of, I think on that count I'm pretty in love with it.
Oh, lovely, lovely. I mean, that's a very good explanation for why both of them would choose that one watch to wear for the rest of their lives. And honestly, in terms of that, in the previous podcast, when I asked the same question to guys, they were like, we can't wear the same watch for the rest of our lives. We need more watches.
But if we had to choose one thing for time, I would end up choosing the mobile. Sorry, but I would rather see the time on the mobile and then still have the mobile on hand.
And it's a lot more accurate on
Yes.
the mobile.
That's true.
Than
That's
needing a battery or a quartz or a
Yeah,
auto,
yeah.
which you keep moving it all the time. And
So I think this podcast is also going to be a good difference in POVs between people and their choices of watches.
Yes.
Definitely. A watch is very close to a person, defines their personality. So definitely we get a lot of broad idea upon the same thing. So let's get to know each other a little. We'll start with Shulyin. So as a diver, what features do you actually look in a watch to ensure that it performs well under certain conditions?
The obvious things will be it has to be reliable.
Yeah.
And for dive watches to go underwater for at certain depths for a period of time. What I think is important is also the clarity on the watch. Like you don't want something that's too blingy or too many things in place because you in the water sometimes the conditions can be a bit murky or so you want something that's clearly shows you what the time is. The features.
So, yeah, I think that those are two very important things, definitely. Next is, can you share a memorable story from your diving adventures where your watch actually played a very crucial role and you felt like, oh, I'm wearing this or this is there?
Yes. So this was we were diving, and when you have your dive watches, there's a different type. So that will calculate your bottom time, how deep you are in, and so it's like a computer watch. It's quite large.
Okay.
So when you're done with the dive, because it's so bulky, normally you don't put it on.
Okay.
So I had my regular watch on.
Okay.
And so that we had a surface interval, meaning that's when the nitrogen in your body gets flushed from the system.
Okay.
And so you kind of take a 1 hour break before you go for your next dive.
Yeah.
And thankfully I had my watch then because every otherwise I would have missed the next dive briefing,
Oh.
which was in an hour's time. Then I was napping, and then I was just looking at my watch, and then I realized, oh, I'm gonna be late, and so that helped me to get to the dive briefing on time.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I did not miss that dive because I saw a really cool shark on that dive.
Ooh, can we know more about the shark? How exciting!
It was a tiger shark dive, and they come really close, about 2 meters, and so the key thing is to stand your ground and not run away, because that triggers the predatory instincts. And that was so it's quite, I mean, it is, you get that kind of adrenaline in you, because like this is an apex predator, so diving with them was
Wow,
it's an incredible experience. So I'm glad I didn't miss that.
Yeah, well, yeah, thanks to your watch. For sure. Definitely. The next is, given your diverse activities, how do you kind of, maintain to take care of your watches and, make sure that they're in the top-notch condition? Anything particular that you follow or any tips?
So when especially when you're diving in salt water, you get this mineral build-up on your watches and in all of the little nooks and crannies. After diving, just soak them in water, just like a filter water or tap water, and just kind of flush with running water, just to remove any debris that might get stuck in. That's the main thing.
Interesting. And do you wear different kind of of course, I think you wear different kind of watches when you're baking and when you're diving. So anything for the... Do you wear a watch when you're baking though?
I sometimes I do. So it kind of depends on the mood of the day. Because it keeps them winded up and
Nice. So if you had to collaborate with a watch company for any upcoming diving project or something of that sorts, which one would it be? Which company do you think you would ever want to collaborate for any upcoming diving project or something? Which watch brand do you think you would want?
So this wasn't in the question of another one.
It's surprise question.
I mean, that would be Blancpain if that will be like a... if you're not, there's no limitation to where your imagination can go.
Yeah.
So they are really, they're like the diving industry. Dive watches are like absolutely
definitely
incredible watches that they have. So
do you own one of them?
No, I don't. That would be in my
list,
my wish list.
How lovely. Thank you so much. Shamla, let's start with you. So how have you seen the luxury watch industry evolve over the decades, and what are the major shifts that actually stood out to you that you noticed very evidently?
Firstly, that it's accessible to us in India. If you compare it to even 10 years ago, there are stores now everywhere that have the brands, that have the classics, that have the limited editions.
Agreed.
That brand names are available to us.
Yeah.
Earlier, it was only when you travel, you pick one or you ask somebody who's traveling.
Yeah.
Now, none of the brands, maybe very few brands are not yet in a store, but most brands are accessible.
Yeah.
I think that controls the grey market also that way, which is quite the bane of any industry, whether it's watches or anything. Yeah. Because the stores are there, they're accessible, there are advertisements, there are people you can speak to. Yeah. Even to put something on your wish list, you can walk into a store.
Yeah, you can
browse,
see, touch, feel, try it.
Which is so important.
Yeah, definitely.
So definitely the accessibility to everyone is there.
Oh, lovely.
That is the change that we've all seen across 10 years.
Yeah, that's actually very notable. Yeah, definitely. Any other change?
I suppose trends. As the trends go, everybody's trying to cope.
Yeah.
Every brand is trying to make it trendier or more. Classics remain, but
definitely
trends have to suit the younger generation, make it attractive for them.
Yeah.
Trends have to satisfy a different class
league of people.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
So trends are definitely,
definitely
more.
Agreed. Yeah, fast changing also. Everything is coming and going too quick. Are there any iconic watches from the past that you feel have left a lasting impact on fashion or have made that watch very memorable?
For me personally, or you're talking about like in the industry?
You, I think.
Personally, I would say a swatch. Because one of the first times I came upon a swatch was when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And they were trendy, they were light, they were colorful.
Yeah.
So it was not just a symbol of class or symbol of, I would even say boring at that time. Where parents wore Rolex or parents wore a Bomb and Moss.
Yeah.
But the Swatch collection, and then going on to what Omega has done with the Swatch collab.
Yeah.
The Moon collection.
Yeah, definitely.
So that definitely makes it interesting that
Yeah.
I think Swatch, although a lot of I think children younger day now, they are not happy with the Swatch because other than changing the battery, you cannot access the insides of a Swatch.
Yeah.
But trend wise, I think they're very attractive.
Yeah,
because
they
I
are.
personally like color.
Yeah,
So I do know,
definitely.
one doesn't have to look at plain old golds and
I
blacks.
agree.
So I like the
Yeah.
straps. I like the materials.
Yeah.
I think Swatch.
Yeah, and I think I have seen a lot of young girls our age, even in our office, wearing swatches and everything. They're very colorful, big chunky dials.
Yes.
It's a lot. So I think someone in our office the other day was wearing like a pink one, and it was reflecting her personality so well, so feminine. So I think I totally kind of relate to that, honestly. So, what watch trends from your earlier years do you think are actually making a comeback right now, and how do you think they compare to today's trends that are going on?
I don't think any watch has ever gone out of trend.
Ah,
Any brand.
yeah,
Especially if it speaks to you.
yeah,
Then it always will speak to you.
yeah.
Maybe it's not the mood of the day, but if you have liked a watch
Yeah.
for whatever reason, so overall, if you think of a trend, the classics are always
Yeah,
there. A trend may come, a trend may go, limited editions, but limited editions that are there for a reason.
yeah,
Limited editions which are actually celebrating,
yeah.
whether it's the Olympics or whether it
Yeah.
is their anniversaries or whatever.
It's
Then
a
I think
milestone.
a milestone. Then
Yeah.
those make sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think there's anything in the fashion industry that actually goes out of fashion
Yeah.
because it speaks to somebody or the other at one point.
Yeah, actually, fashion is such a personal choice,
Absolutely.
right? So
Absolutely.
for someone, I think, always make sense.
And it all comes back. If you think of music, if you think of colors, if you
Yeah.
think of styles in clothing
Yeah.
or styles in decor, everything comes back.
Yeah,
And everything is so personal. Everything
Yeah.
has to speak to what I like, someone else may not.
yeah,
So,
definitely.
so
Yeah, definitely.
It's got to speak to you. And then
Yeah.
as a family, if you're thinking of broader perspective, then as a family, it needs to speak to you.
Yeah.
But something like a watch is so
So
personal that
personal.
it's fine. If you like it, then you like it.
Agree. I agree. Nice. So, in the current status of the watch industry, what do you think is missing, or what kind of change do you think you want to see? Actually, I'll ask that to you also.
I wouldn't call it a change because brand names are big. Brand names come with their price factor.
Yeah.
But I think it should be a little more accessible to at least those who crave for these things. It should not. For instance, a Patek. There are times I don't even know the price range of a Patek. I mean, I can't believe a Patek is so inaccessible
Yeah.
to even people who otherwise would love a Rolex
Yeah.
or a Cartier or a,
Yeah.
a Patek seems so out of. So maybe
Out
they're
of
fine,
range.
but that is one of the first watches that caught my eye. And I was only 18 back then.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was, I think I've mentioned it, it was on the magazine cover of a Pret-a-Porter, and a friend of mine had just come back from Paris participating in, not a friend, my manager had come back and from participating in a fashion show. And she brought the magazine, as a representative of what the exhibition was all about. And I could only see this large dialed Patek and I didn't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And I was like, didn't you go for a fashion? Was it not just garments? She said, no, look at this watch.
Wow.
And I was like, a watch is a fashion statement.
Yeah.
And then that's the Patek. So it's like what? It's like 35 years now.
Wow.
So things should be more accessible also.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's a Patek showroom in Bangalore.
No.
Or I don't know one.
In India.
In India.
In India, there isn't.
There wouldn't be.
No,
Of course, Kapoor watches would get us one.
Yeah,
probably.
but
But-
what a big, yeah. Definitely.
So more accessibility maybe, or maybe that is how they make it more elusive.
That's a
Like
that
now
could
Rolex
be.
is completely out of stock.
Yeah,
You just wait
that's
and
how you
wait
create
and wait.
demand.
Yeah, you're treating it. Why can they not? Why are they doing this? Why are they hyping up something? At least for me, I lose interest when people put up their price also.
Yeah.
You make it hard to get, then you just lose interest.
Yeah, happens with a lot of people, but for a lot of people, it does also,
What?
make them want it even more.
Yes.
So I think that's just how they're trying to create demand by being
exactly.
inaccessible completely.
Absolutely.
What advice would you give to someone who's just looking to start a luxury watch collection, especially from like a fashion perspective?
Does one plan to do that, or does that just happen? Any kind of collection, I don't know. Do you plan and say, okay, here I'm going to start collecting watches? I don't think so. I think something should speak to you to be collectible for you. But all you know, I may be into collecting boxes, I may be into collecting movie posters, for instance. A lot of people are so high on that.
Yeah.
But anyone doing any kind of collection, the first step is it should speak to you.
Yeah.
It should appeal to you.
Yeah.
And also, it's not just something that goes into storage or goes into a safe, especially watches are expensive.
Yeah.
So you can't just put them away. You need to figure out what you're going to be using, how often you're going to be using,
Yeah.
and how much money you have at that time in life. If you're talking about youngsters, and is this the kind of thing they need to
Yeah. Do they really want to put it there
right now, or does that come at a time where you plan something? Again, you plan it for an event. You
Yeah,
plan it to
exactly.
mark a milestone,
Occasion.
an occasion,
Yeah.
and then it's definitely value addition.
Yeah, definitely. I think I agree to that. I think I'll also ask you the question. So, if you had to collaborate with a watch company for an upcoming fashion project or for any project, for you personally, which brand would you pick and why do you think you would?
I would pick Tiffany maybe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because frankly, I have a Tiffany, and it's a gold watch.
Oh.
So I don't get to wear it as often, but I'm not able to go and buy another Tiffany because I'm like, why? I have a Tiffany's already.
Yeah, exactly.
So why would I buy? So I would definitely think Tiffany's is more a jewelry, which is what the watch industry has become today.
Yeah, it has.
It is
really
not
has.
a watch as in an accessory, it's more a jewelry brand.
Yeah.
In fact, that's one of the reasons Rolex told me when I spoke to many, many people who are distributors, that Rolex is shifting their whole strategy from being a watch company to a Rolex jewelry marketing strategies.
Ooh.
And that is why this whole lull in the market. That's what they excuse.
Okay.
So I would say Tiffany's, but again, Tiffany's is such a big brand. Are they even looking to collab with anything at all? Sorry, I don't know if that's the line that you're looking at.
No, but yeah, whatever speaks to you, I think is something that you'd go ahead with. So let's talk about your watch collections. If you could tell us a little bit about your watch collection, what watches you have, and why did you pick any particular watch or something about?
I'm quite a minimalist person, so if for me it represents, if I have a watch that represents a role or a purpose for that watch. So I have one that's kind of like a versatile watch, which I can wear for something that's fancy or something even when I'm dressed up.
Yeah.
So that works. And I also have a Cartier.
Yeah.
So that's more for fancy because it's a bit smaller,
Okay.
more dainty looking. And so if I'm going out for a night out and wearing something sort of, go to a fancy restaurant, so that would be my pick.
Yeah.
And I also have a dive watch, which that's for like a beater kind of watch. I go hiking with it. I go, I diving obviously with it as well.
Yeah.
And so like that gets scratches, but it just adds to the whole personality.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
the
It scratches
watch.
a memory.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know that this is the well-used watch. So
Exactly.
Yeah. So those are my.
Nice, that's cute. And we also got to know that you enjoy wearing your husband's watches also sometimes.
So he's quite a collector, but unfortunately, like a lot of watches, like it has to be resized.
It must be big. Yeah, exactly.
So sometimes like I do see like but then obviously it's also like some watches I can wear them, some he'll be like no. Understandable.
Lovely. How about you, Ma?
I don't think I have ever planned to buy any particular watch except my Rolex, for which I waited like about 10 years, 12 years. Yeah, which has been covered again in the other story.
Wow.
I actually waited, and we were traveling. We were in Switzerland with my husband's sisters, two of my sisters-in-law. And my husband said, okay, I'll buy all three of you Rolex. And we were like, ooh.
Wow.
Yeah, go for it. And then we were looking
Best
at...
day ever.
Absolutely.
Can I come with you?
You should. But what we did was we were looking at the watches, and I took my husband aside. I said, listen, you're buying this for your sisters. Why don't we make it special for them?
Yeah.
And I don't know why I was being such a saint. I never understood why that came upon me. We did, I backed out and I said, we just bought it for them. We made it a big deal about them picking their Rolex, bringing it back and everything. And then for some reason, we just never got around to buying me a Rolex.
Oops.
And it went on 10 years, 12 years, and it would always be at the back of my mind. But I ended up with the rest of my watches along the way. I picked up a Tiffany because somebody was closing their store, but I loved it.
Yeah.
I picked up a Cartier because I was wearing the Tiffany in the Cartier showroom, and the Arab in Dubai was like, can I offer you coffee? Can I offer you cookies? And I was like, is this guy flirting with me? Or is this, I mean, what is happening? In Dubai, we were walking around in the mall, and everybody was generally doing their thing. And I was just walking past some display, and the salespeople were just looking at me. And then somebody who looked very important came from inside, and he called me in, and I was like, no, I'm just looking. So he said, no, ma'am, please come in. And when I went in, he actually took me into his office, sat me down, served me coffee, and was being so polite and was really talking. And then of course, by then I figured I was in the Cartier showroom. And I was even making fun of him, and he said, you don't wear a Cartier? Do you have a Cartier? I said, no, I'm waiting for the Arabic numbers to come because Cartier is always Roman. So he said, and the Cartier's exclusive. I said, yeah, the blue dot. So he said, so you know so much about Cartiers. So why aren't you wearing one? And I was like, yeah, soon, maybe. And then he was really nice. He was flirting away and speaking so much, asking me about India, telling me about his experiences, and quite a well-traveled person, spoke well. Finally, my family came looking for me, and they were like, oh, "What are you doing here? And where are you? We've been looking for you." I said, "Oh, sorry, I was in." So then, when I came out, I asked my husband in Hindi, and he said, "Kya ho raha tha?" I said, "I have no clue. This guy was just being so nice." So he said, "तूने क्या पहना है देख." And I said, what? And I looked and I realized I was wearing my Tiffany. And obviously, it had given this guy so much of a threat, probably, because the Tiffany was right across from the Cartier. And then, of course, we walked around a bit. And then, by then, he had shown me a couple of mother of pearl watches, which I really like. So I came back. I said, Anu, do you have a budget for a watch? He said, yeah, sure, if that's what you want. And we went back and we actually bought one. Bought the Cartier, from him. And that's how I hadn't really planned on wanting a Cartier even until he was telling me, why don't you pick one? And I was joking and saying Arabic numerals, and he was laughing. But I thought the moment kind of clicked for me. And I ended up owning my favorite watch, which is the Cartier now.
One watch that defines your personality.
I feel like I have a bit of an also like I'm not the partying type. I'm not and when Rolex is a bit of for a mature crowd as well. I would say it's not the designs are very sensible.
Yeah.
It's more conservative.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like me.
Yeah.
So it's adaptable, which I like to think I am. And so minimalist in some sense.
So I think for you it's gonna be the one that you're wearing.
That is right.
Definitely, it looks lovely with the green dial.
I just love green. I mean, it's not my favorite color, but with Rolex, it's and I like jade as well. I used to wear a jade bracelet, but that
You definitely are an old soul. And I think jade speaks to
and so that cracked because I had a fall or something, and so it's interesting because there's a superstition that when your jade cracks, that means it's absorbed the bad chi for you, so you have to toss it away. Don't
you toss it away? You don't keep it and
no, because like that's
you
like
don't rejoin it with gold. That's something we've all seen in Kintsugi, where when something breaks, you add gold to it and put it back together.
Give it a new life.
Wow.
Yeah, but then
That's an
jade absorbing, I fully agree.
Yeah.
I've had so many instances of jade absorbing negativity. I've heard stories of people speaking where they've thrown away big artifacts made of jade only because something chipped, something cracked. But I also like my whole pre-loved story, I also believe that when something cracks or something doesn't work, like whether it's feng shui or vastu, or just, when you see a clock that doesn't work, it's like, why would a clock not work?
That's why they say don't ever have
a
Not
clock or a
working.
watch.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
clock
also
at
in feng
home.
shui, there's
Yeah.
Keep things moving. Why would
Yeah.
you have something that's
That's stopped.
constantly
Moving and it
Yeah,
stops
not- yeah,
suddenly.
you- not put a battery or or-
Agreed. Yeah.
But you know those boxes for the auto watches are so expensive. So when you have an auto watch and then you keep it, then that doesn't work, and I go and shake the watch every day. But the box that keeps the movement
Winders.
going, winders,
Yeah.
is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Sorry, they're so expensive. Again, I mean, an accessory to a watch.
Yeah.
It's-
In simple terms, added kharcha.
Correct. So something that one definitely needs to invest in. Now, if as a couple, now your husband, like you said, is a collector, I'm sure he's got one of those. You know, the automatic for his automatic.
he just
watches.
whenever he wants to wear one, he just has to move it and then
so
turn it to the time. Yeah,
correct.
that's
In fact, one of my friends' houses in Dubai, pretty much a collector,
Yeah.
and they had a whole console or section for the watches, and I said, "What about the automatic watches?" And they were like, "What about them?" I said, "Don't you have the winders, the self winders, like you said?"
Yeah.
And we didn't think of that. We just thought of putting all the watches on this display, and I'm like, "Okay, now the self winders. Now you have to make sure you put your box of self winders there."
Yeah.
So you know, it's an accessory to an accessory.
Yeah. Agreed.
So sometimes your passions, your wants and needs can just be endless. Like I think one of the questions, I'm not sure if you asked to somebody, what's the next watch you look forward to? And
Watch
mine
wish
was
list.
like, no, I'm not looking forward to anything more. I craved for something for 12, 15 years, and I'm just glad it came about full circle.
Yeah,
Ended up
yeah.
with me having
Yeah.
what I have. And I used to keep thinking it could be an Hermes because my husband picked up an Hermes, and right in front of us it was a his and hers watch.
Ooh.
And for some reason, because we were to go to the Rolex store later,
Yeah.
he just picked his. And we never thought to pick, mine. And that completely went out of circulation. And I never found a match until I heard your story about wearing your husband's watches. And I was like, next time I'm going to wear your Hermes. He's like, okay, I just have to adjust the strap a bit. I said, yes. So Hermes is off my list. I have a box with 9 watches, and I would always say this one for Hermes, the box of 10.
Yeah, and
This
there's one
for
that
there's one Hermes
now take your
spot.
husband and put.
Yeah, I'm like, but then I'm like, okay, I'm going to share this watch with you.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's quite.
Yeah, good idea.
So that's something I've taken from you. Is your idea? I don't need the physical watch.
I mean, it's there. If it's not wearing
why
it, it's
not?
not being used. So
Anyway, nobody watch between a couple. You have couple watches.
Yeah.
So you always can wear. That's nice.
Nice.
I've already taken something from you.
fantastic. And maybe he's not whether he's happy or not. Right?
No,
That's
it's okay. He doesn't mind. There was a time, like I said, when I would wear men's shirts and I would wear his shirts all the time, and I would, like the Armani one again, was a pink men's shirt. And I'm talking about 90s or
Ooh.
late 80s, where when he wore a pink shirt, people would say, "You're carrying it off," but a man wearing a pink shirt.
Yeah, that time, yeah.
Yeah. But
I imagine.
we've come a full circle, and my son, who's 20, wants cherry blossoms. He wants the sakura flowers on his wall. And I was like, let's do stickers first. If it works, then. And my daughter's like, how effeminate can you get? He's like,
I'm telling you, my husband has more pink shirts than I do.
So, Armani pink shirt and then the watch from that same promo is something you cherish.
Wow.
Cliched or not. It doesn't have to be big names always.
Yeah, definitely. So I think with this, we'll sign off from the podcast and you can stop recording.